Well, hello, you lovely lot. It's Connor. We're back here with three things that we learned after Leeds United's really exciting draw with West Bromwich Albion yesterday. Before we start the video, please make sure you're liking the video, commenting, and subscribing, everybody. There's no days off, it seems, here at One Leeds HQ. How are we all doing today? Have we been reflective? Do we have any points of view which are different from what we were thinking yesterday? I have a few of which I'm going to be relaying to you guys yesterday. Get your thoughts in. The three things isn't just about me waffling onto you guys. It's a collaborative process of which I want to hear your thoughts on exactly how you saw the game, the general overview of Leeds United at this moment in time. Time check. We have 12 days left of the transfer window. Leeds United, 4 new signings is what Daniel Farke wants. We are going to be getting into that today. Is he right? Is he wrong? Should he be saying that in the press conference? All these things that we're going to get into. We're going to be getting into the game yesterday as well. What exactly that meant for Leeds United, and should we be frustrated? Should we be elated? There's many different emotions going on yesterday. And listen, the video I put out yesterday, I was trying to be as constructive as possible, but I think a lot of the time when it's got to where we've got to at this moment in time, it's really difficult to play down sort of how sort of dismal the start of this season has been in terms of Leeds United overall. So it's really difficult to try and find positives, but we are going to try and do that. But we have to be assertive. We have to be proactive, not reactive to what's going on at this moment in time. Morning, everyone in the chat. Connor, I think a minimum of 6 is needed. Terry's in the building. Louis in the building. Stefan's in the building. Jack says he's been better as well. Tyler's here as well. Jay Racer. Matt's in the building. We've got Oaksy as well, coming all the way from Canada. Brett says clean sheet was nice, but overall performance was dire. And that's a good way of putting it, to be honest, mate. Tim's in the building. Morning, pal. Morning, Kaz. Hiya, mate. How's it going? Okay, let's get into the three things. What's up, Connor? Hey, Steve. Which I learned, and as I say, get your thoughts in, everybody, as well. So overall, right, are we happy? It's a clean sheet for United, a clean sheet for Leeds yesterday, and that's a positive. Now, my perspective on this whole thing was, should the manager have started with 2 defensive midfielders? Should he have started with a Gruev and Ampadu pivot? Okay, there's a lot of people suggesting that he should have done. Why? Because Leeds had lost to Middlesbrough, Band-Aid on, we needed a clean sheet to give us that sort of hope and prosperity going forward. I wanted to win the game yesterday, and I thought the team on the pitch could have won the game yesterday. So how I looked at that, I watched the extensive highlights back this morning, and it was so evident that we really weren't going into yesterday's game with a level of ambition, in my opinion. I feel like it was a little bit of a statement potentially to the board. I think the clean sheet was always what Farke was after, and that sounds really obvious, but I think we were going into the game not to lose, and I think that was the prerogative of yesterday's game. It was not to lose. We were not going to West Bromwich Albion to win. Now, a lot of people are seeing that as a positive, which is understandable. Kept a clean sheet, kept them down to an XG of, I think it was 0.36 or something ridiculous like that. I mentioned yesterday on the match review that I felt that we were playing into West Bromwich Albion's game, and by that I'd sort of meant that we were just not really imposing ourselves. We weren't really leaving the Leeds United imprint on West Bromwich Albion. It was sort of lackluster. There was nothing there. There was no innovation, creativity. It was very bland. Now, obviously, even last season, we're not used to seeing that. We're not used to seeing that. We're used to seeing so many embers of creativity. We're used to seeing guile, and as I mentioned, innovation in the final third, and Leeds trying to win every single game. And I thought coming into this season, the objective was to be better than last season and obviously win promotion. With 2 games in, Connor, what are you talking about? Yes, I hear you cry. I understand. Things will only get better. Of course they will. But my overall perspective going into the game yesterday was we're going to win the game. We're going to win the game. That's what I thought was the objective. Evidently, with how he started out yesterday, I think the big indication was when he put Gruev and Ampadu in there, two pivots of which are not going to sort of try and stretch the pitch and get Leeds forward. It was all about that defensive solidarity and coming out of the game with a point. So, yeah, if that was the objective, big tick. Objection met. Game style, objective, whatever, the aim of the game, that was met. Well done to Leeds on that front. So if you're looking at it from that side of things, Absolutely fine. No problem around that. And Daniel Farke has done the objective. I think the frustration in game, the performance, I thought was really poor. I thought it was really, really poor yesterday. And it's that there's a lot of revisionism going on, which I don't understand. Throughout the game, I thought it was really bad. Everybody, the dial from everybody. I was speaking to everybody, even during the watch along, text mates, family members, online, was the same thing. There was a lack of synergy. The passing was off completely. The accuracy, the willingness to get forward and try and open up West Bromwich Albion. It was all really, really lacking, I thought, in that performance. So that was my frustration with it, really. And I know a lot of people are probably more bothered about the result, which is a 0-0, and it means we're undefeated in the league and all this sort of stuff. But I wanted us to go to West Brom, and I thought we had the capability. I was saying it on the watch along, even with that side, to win the game. I did. I don't think West Brom were up to much. I thought a lot of their ideals yesterday was to turn Leeds around with the route one pass. And I genuinely thought in the second half, in particular, when we started kind of getting a bit of momentum, I thought a few tactical changes, a few personnel changes, and at the right moments, and Leeds would have won that game. I'm really, really certain of it. I don't think West Brom were up to much, and to say they're going to be in the top 6, top 5, top 6, whatever at the end of the season, which we probably know they're going to be with Corberan, that that just sort of shows what standard the league's at. Burnley managed to beat Cardiff yesterday with a 0. I think it was 8-1 or 1-8. XG. They beat them 5-0, which essentially means that the quality of finishing is just unbelievable. And I really felt that the overall standpoint of Leeds last season was we were just looking for set pieces. So yeah, look, it is what it is. It is what it is. If you're happy with that, absolutely fine. And I completely get that the result is what it is, 0-0. I think performances are massive in football. And probably that's why I get frustrated more than most, because I think performances and consistent performances at a certain level will always breed to the outcome. I genuinely don't think like a 0-0 performance. And I said on the watch, I knew exactly what Farke was going to say. Yeah, overall perspective, look at it, draw. But I think the performances lead to the greater outcome over a period of time. So, yeah, I think. Look, it is what it is. It is what it is. Now let's get on to the next point. Joel Piroe. Now, I wanted to focus on him particularly this morning because I think we can look at the 49ers, and I was getting a lot of it last night. I was getting a lot of, you really willing to batter Farke and all this sort of stuff. I just think there should be improvement there, and I feel as a fan, as a paying customer, I feel I can ask for improvement when it comes to the manager. I think the 49ers have got to show it. Of course they have, but there's got to be a balance. Like, we can't just let's not take the shine off the manager here in terms of things that he has to improve on, which we were calling for all in pre-season. When we had a better squad, we were all calling for improvements when it came to the manager. I think that's fair enough, really. But I was getting called out in the comment section a little bit, which is fine, absolutely fine. As I say, football's a game of opinions. Doesn't mean I have to agree, but football is a game of opinions, of course, and it's subjective. And people were saying I was too harsh on Daniel Farke, which is fair enough. I didn't think I went for him too much, but I get that, as I mentioned before, football's a game of opinions. But I think there's ways in which he's maybe getting a few things wrong at this moment in time with, how he is in his press conferences. I think, how he is on the pitch in terms of what players he puts where, and is he trying to win games? Is he trying to just be conservative? That's a question. But Joel Piroe, I think, is quite indicative at this moment in time. I don't think Farke, and with better players dotted around Joel Piroe last season than what he had at Swansea, but Russell Martin was able to get a much finer tune out of him than Daniel Farke has managed to get out of him. Did okay last season, Piroe, but he was a bench option, wasn't he? And you can read sort of any article, really. And I'm going to try pull one up now and try see where I noticed this. And it was from a Swansea fan, actually. And he was talking about what Joel Piroe is and what Joel Piroe isn't. And he was speaking about where he was, scoring his goals and all this sort of stuff. And it was interesting how, if I can try find it here, I might be able to find it, but I might not be able to find it. But essentially, he was saying that Joel Piroe is not a number 9. And this is something that we're very well aware of. And that's why Joel Piroe, when he was at Swansea, I can't find it, but yeah, it's in this article somewhere, but I'm on a stream. So, but anyway, this article was essentially saying that Joel Piroe had to have a striker in front of him, or he had to have runners off him, essentially, because he's a cultured player and that isn't his game, really. Now, we bought Joel Piroe, and Joel Piroe really wasn't active in a 4-2-3-1 system. He was way more active in a 4-3-3 at points. Even at Swansea, it'd be a 3-4-3 and a 3-1-4-2. Now, I know these are just dimensions. There are formations. There are variations there. But I guess that V word's the key thing. You know, if Swansea were to break down an opponent, which at points they found really, really difficult because they had a lot of very decent players at that level under Russell Martin. Very, very decent players. You know, Nitcham, Patterson, Obafemi, obviously Joel Piroe, and way more, you know, players who at the championship level were very good, and Russell Martin arguably underachieved. But what he did do was get the best out of someone like Joel Piroe, you know, and that's pretty indicative of him scoring, 58 goals in 90 games whilst getting about 10 assists, which is his ratio at Leeds. Even when you relatively break it down to the amount of games he's played at Leeds, the involvements, the amount of games he's playing, and as I've said, ultimately, when it comes to involvements, the goals and assists just aren't mirroring what he did at Swansea. Now, for me, with Daniel Farke, us buying Joel Piroe for 16 odd million, I'm really surprised with how it's just not working. It's just not working. And I was never convinced with him last year at Leeds. I'd mentioned him having a lack of athleticism and a lack of physicality. But the idea with Joel Piroe is that's always been his game. He's a cultured football player who evidently has a good technical level, but you've got to get the best out of him by variation in formation, having certain personnel in and around him. Now, at Swansea, when they were trying to break down opposition, as I've just mentioned previously, they would have a variation of Nitcham, Patterson, Obafemi, and Patterson. Patterson, Nitcham, Obafemi, and Piroe, I should say, and they'd have a variation of that. But then when they were when teams were coming at them, they would vary to a 3-4-3. You know, so when they were trying to break down, they'd go into a 4-3-3. But you know, when they'd be in possession and just trying to meander around the opponent, it'd be a 3-4-3. So the whole point here is, everyone, it's that key word, it's variation. And what I don't understand, I guess, is why we bought him. And I said this right at the beginning. I said that he's a good player, and I remember getting clips up on Twitter about it. But he's a good player, but how does he fit? And some person I remember on social media said, "Oh, this guy can't figure out his mind. You can't figure it out in his mind." I said, "Well, no, it's just very difficult to see how he fits in." So we went out and bought him. So then, if you've gone out and bought him, you have to structure the team around. Let's not forget what Joel Piroe is. He's a marksman in this division. Marksman. A lot of people talking about going to get Sammy Schmodics, blah 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 blah. And I understand that, but it seems like, you know, we're repeating again what we wanted towards the back end of last season. It was a potent number 9. Now, he isn't a number 9. All of his stats will say he's a centre forward, but he always drifts into that number 10 position. That's why everybody calls him a number 10. Shadow striker, false 9, whatever. But you've got to get the right players around him. And I'm never sure that Daniel Farke got the balance with Piroe right at all last season. I don't think he did. You know, we play him as a number 9. He wouldn't always have runners off him. You know, he wouldn't have the athleticism and physicality in and around Joel Piroe a lot of the time. He'd look isolated. And I think Russell Martin, again, we're talking about Russell Martin when it comes to Daniel Farke, but I think he got the perfect blend in and around Joel Piroe. And if you are going to get the best out of Joel Piroe, you have to have the perfect blend. You have to have a better blend of physicality, of athleticism, of runners, of an explosive striker ahead of him. You have to be able to make that work. And if we don't want a £16 million signing to go down the pan, the manager of the football club has to find the blend if we are going to be sticking with Joel Piroe, which is fine. That's what we're working on right now. And really, when you're looking at it, when you bought a lad last season for 16 million quid, and he's got 12 goals or whatever he got, you're thinking, okay, great, you know. But we all know when we watch Joel Piroe, if you're a Leeds fan, football isn't a game played on paper. It's played on a football pitch. And we see week in, week out what Swansea fans didn't see. Swansea fans saw Joel Piroe striking the ball from outside the box, and 50-60% of his goals would be nestled in the bottom corner from outside the box. He was an absolute marksman, sharpshooter from outside the box. We even saw yesterday outside the box. And that you can't blame Daniel Farke for a ball striker, But getting him in those positions more often, where he's going to take shots on more often, is going to give him a little bit more confidence, find his range, not be rusty from that period. For other players to take other men away, so Piroe's got space in that area. A cultured footballer who then can make things happen. We saw him make things happen for the Aronson goal, didn't we, on the first day of the season, when he had space. How do you get space? Runners. That's what you get. So I think if we are to get the best out of Piroe, it can't be in a 4-2-3-1, in my opinion. He's got to vary the system a little bit, and he's got to get different profiles in that are going to get the best out of Joel Piroe. Otherwise, we're going to get Joel Piroe just coming off the bench every now and again when we get players in, potentially this week. And that I think Joel Piroe's career at Leeds will be pretty lifeless. It'll be good. It'll be an okay career, but it will not be as potent as it was at Swansea. Swansea, you'd constantly see hitting the byline, cutbacks from the left or from the right, cutbacks from the wing backs. Piroe would be arriving late, ball smashed into the bottom corner, ball smashed into the roof of the net, but he'd be arriving late from that number 10 position. Why? The space would be massive for him because all the other players, the runners, the athleticism, the physicality from other profiles would take the attention away from opposition players. Joel Piroe had a system at Swansea and the team was kind of built around him. But we bought a player for 16 odd million in the offensive part of the pitch, and we've not built anything around him. Now, could we do that this season? Potentially. But once again, it's about the manager being pragmatic, and he's not. Okay? This is one of my major frustrations with him. And you'll all say, oh, he's harsh, Conor, he got a point yesterday. But if pragmatism is just in putting 2 defensive pivots in there, then okay, that's great. But once again, you're seeing a guy on the pitch die in Joel Piroe. Seeing him die, and you're willing to play him. So we'll criticise him. But really, there's a bigger story here. After the Borough game, he should have been dropped. But once again, the Borough game, are you getting the best out of him with what you're providing him as a manager? Probably not. But then you play him again against West Bromwich Albion in a defensive system, of which surely it would have made more sense if you're trying to get the point to put Joe Rothwell in the number 10. Because then when you're defending, he can sit into a midfield 3. But you put Joel Piroe out there and he's dying. A number 10 role, a number 10 who's not going to press. He's not going to be effective in that role whatsoever. He's not going to defend effectively. And yeah, we got out of there with the point. But surely if that's your strategy going into it, I don't know. It just all a bit bizarre to me. All a bit bizarre. So yeah, that was the sort of second thing that I noticed yesterday. Aidan says Piroe is the type of player that needs a system built around him, in my opinion. Yeah, 100%, everyone. And let's all be on the same side here when it comes to this. As I've said, you can disagree, you can agree, but I find it interesting delving into the tactical side of football. I always have done, and the whole Farke in, Farke out. I've never said that. I've never said Farke. I think there's better managers out there than Daniel Farke. Last season, I said if there was an outstanding manager who was available and, we were to go into next season with said outstanding manager, would I sack Daniel Farke post-Wembley? Yeah, I would have done. 100%. But we also didn't know the moving parts of Somerville, of Rutter, of Archie's there, Kamara. That's all context that needs to be applied here. But at that time, there was no outstanding manager, really. But now, at least now you can have questions about said manager. There was a few mentioned yesterday that we're not going to get into, but Daniel Farke has always had, and this isn't me saying Farke out at all, but he's as you guys know, we've had them on the channel as Norwich fans. Chris and Jack, excellent content creators. They were with Farke for 5 years, right? The exact same things. Lack of pragmatism, lack of variation, favourites, stubbornness, refusal to take accountability in press conferences. Those 5 things that was what they were saying. Gladbach fans, search what Gladbach fans were saying about Farke on Twitter or Reddit or whatever you want to do, whatever platform. Exact same things. That's where I got the phrase the Schwarzer, which essentially means the talker, because that's all they do. He'd talk in press conferences. He'd try and work his way out of it. Now, this isn't me saying, once again, that Daniel Farke needs to be sacked. It doesn't. It's not me saying that whatsoever. But I said this on social media. He needs to develop. He needs to adapt at some point because you can't go 5, 6, 7, 8 years with the same ideas all the time and the same stubbornness and the same misuse of substitutions, the same, ideology. You've got to develop in football. You have to develop, and as a paying customer, we know that football moves on, doesn't it? And I guess that's my biggest thing with him. We've got a player in there who evidently has ability, but we're all criticizing, including myself. But is it not down to the manager to be able to adapt and make that player a better player? And this is what we all learn from Mr. Bielsa: the development of a player. Thing is, Connor, you say this, you know this, yet you are still not Farke out. You make no sense. He's a terrible manager that will not adapt. Well, Chris, I guess the whole my hope is that he will adapt. We saw adaptation a little bit last season. We saw it a little bit in pre-season, I would say. A little bit in pre-season. Norwich away last season when we went to a 4-3-3. That was really interesting to see. And we thought maybe going into next season, it would be a certain way. I don't know. Joe's in the building. All right, mate. If that weren't pragmatism yesterday, then I don't know what is. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm talking about variation in formation to get the best out of players. I don't think just putting 2 CDMs in there and going to shithouse a draw is pragmatism. I don't know. That's not getting the best out of each individual for me. That's not going to win a game. It's just with the players that you have on the pitch who could have won that game, in my opinion. You just go in there, you put Gruev next to Ampadu, which we've seen multiple times anyway, and you've just gone to get a draw. I don't know if that's. I wouldn't say that's pragmatism. I'd say pragmatism should be a positive thing, in my opinion, at points. Farke couldn't get us promoted with more firepower. He has less in a weaker league. Can't say I'm optimistic. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the one of my final points anyway. So Farke's mentioned 4 players that need to be coming in. Somerville needs to be replaced still. Gray in that central midfield needs to be replaced, doesn't he? And Rutter needs to be replaced. So he's mentioned 4 players. So how I look at that is there's a Somerville replacement, a Gray replacement in centre midfield, and a Rutter replacement, and then 1 cover at fullback. Is that enough? And this is me looking at the 49ers. So I'm looking at the 49ers, of course. Is that enough? And the reason I'm asking that is because you're looking at 3 players to Gray. He played at right back, replaced by Bogle, which I'm not too dissatisfied with. But Gray was naturally a central midfielder, so I think the like for like is going to be we're going to bring a central midfield body in. I don't think you're going to get 3 players who are going to be able to replicate the same quality as Somerville and Rutter. So from that standpoint, I think you need 5. I think there's an argument that you need 2 to replace Rutter, 1 to replace Gray, 1 to replace Somerville, and 1 as a fullback. That's what I think you need. Because once again, we're going to be in a position of where, Rutter, if there is an injury there for the replacement that comes in, then what? Piroe in the number 10, Aronson in the number 10, of which Piroe in the 10 is just evidently is not working. So that's your replacement. If let's say a number 10 comes in and gets injured or whatever, I think 5 is needed. I disagree with him. I think 4 is needed to come in terms of those Somerville, Gray, and Rutter replacements. I think 4 needs to come in just for that. In terms of that, you're looking at Gray as a central midfielder here, and then 1 cover at fullback. There's an argument that you need a couple in at fullback. That's an argument. We're 1 injury. I think we're 1 or 2 injuries away. 1 or 2 injuries away, aren't we? I think. Terence says, Connor, I detect you've curbed your anger and deliveries are much more, dare I say, optimistic. That's good, mate, because I've given up being angry. Honestly, mate, it's frustration yesterday. It was frustration yesterday, 100%. Because I think, like, it's so easy because, right, and this is the optimistic thing, right? And this is the optimistic thing is to look at that and say, we went there for a draw. Why are we going there for a draw? Why are we not putting our big boy pants on and going there to win? What? Because we got slapped up by Borough midweek. But then the excuse, well, we made 7 changes, right? We made 7 changes. So put your full team out. Let's go to West Brom and win. You know, let's go to West Brom and win. Like, it's fine, us going for the point, but the performance just gets ignored, completely ignored. The lack of synergy, individual players been really poor yesterday, really poor. Certain individuals. I thought Strout was excellent, but aside from that, not many. The lack of attempts on goal. The only threat us having is set pieces. You know, I just, and it's half glass empty, half glass full. But is it? I just wanted us to go there and win. But is that realistic? Is the next question to that? Well, yeah, it is realistic. We're Leeds United. We've still got a very good side. That starting 11 was better than their starting 11. Why are we going there to draw? It's okay. It's not the worst case scenario. But us envisaging, us suggesting after the game that us going there and getting a point is the best outcome we could have got for. Where are the standards? Let's go there and win. Just because we've had a week of relative turmoil when it comes to Rutter, when it comes to this standard, it's not the worst result in the world. But you get called negative a lot because your expectations are maybe a little bit higher. And maybe that's naive of me. But my expectations were yesterday, we go there and win. That's what I thought. You know, I thought, right, come on. Big boy pants on, let's go and do it. But then the excuse is, well, our squad isn't good enough. You know, our team isn't good enough. It's like the draw last weekend, isn't it? It's the optimism. It's, well, we got back in the game. We should have won it. And we had X amount of shots on goal. But I was looking at that and thinking, they're a League One side with 6 of their team out. We had a fully fit side and we went 1-0 up inside 10 minutes. And then we stepped off the gas, let them back in it, and we conceded 3 goals at Ellen Road. Do you see what I mean? That for maybe my mindset's a little bit naive, but my mindset is no. There's no positives at the end of that Portsmouth game. Should have been winning that game. Should have been winning that game. Newly promoted side with a mass amount of players out. That there's no excuse there. The Borough game midweek, when you get in blaming Rutter afterwards and saying that's affected the squad. Well, and as I said, for the first half we're fine. We're okay. It's 50-50. It wasn't great. But it was all right. It was fine. And then the second half, we absolutely fell off a cliff. So that can't be blamed on Jorginho, Rutter and the mentality of the side. So then I just thought after those 2, it's like, right, well, come on, let's pick the fans up. Let's pick everyone up. Let's pick everyone back into it. You know, let's get back into the mode and let's go and win. So it's not for me, mate, it's never negativity. It's just like I have this expectation of this club winning football games like that. And when the opposition side, with the greatest of respect, have got Shemi Ajayi there, they've got Kyle Bartley and Darnell Furlong in a back 4, of which 3 of them are I think they're 31, 32 and above. I would expect Leeds to cause them more trouble. I would expect Leeds to cause them more trouble with Nonto, Piroe and Joseph in that front line, and probably even Dan James. I would expect Leeds to go there and cause them more problems than we did. The only problems that we caused them were from set pieces from Strout. That was it. So, but yeah, that's it, Jonathan. More. I want more. I do, mate. I do. But like I say, you know, I can be wrong. It's look, and as we've said, if we get 4 players in this week and we get 4 really good caliber players in this week, the feel will be much better. And this is back on the ownership again. This is what I mean. I'm not just hammering Farke for this, and I'm really not. I just wanted to develop as a coach. But if we're getting 4 players in, I don't want us to get 1 player in and for us all then to be doing, it's amazing, get too excited about this because they need to do more. They need more. If they get 3 in this week, it's not good enough. It is not good enough and it's going to hurt us this season. They get 2 in, not good enough. If they get 1 really good replacement in, Not good enough. Ryan says we get 2 max. I think we will as well, mate. I've just got a feeling they're not going to. I mean, Farke said, what did he say? And I get he's going to cover his back here. I get he's going to cover the 49ers back. I understand that. But he said, almost like, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. You know, there's no guarantee. I think that's what he said. Well, there needs to be a guarantee. Okay. You know, Sheffield United within a week have brought in, and this is an argument. It's an argument. They've brought in Cooper, who's arguably better than Melee. Well, okay, in my opinion, he is. They brought in Raksaki, who could be better than James. There's an argument there. They brought Harry Suter in last week, who's maybe better than Verba or whatever. And then they brought Tyrese Campbell in, who's obviously miles better than Patrick Bamford, and probably a couple more as well. So the reason I mentioned that, everybody, is that's been done in about 10 days, and they're good quality players at this level. They're good quality players in 10 days. So let's not be hopeful, because we've not done anything since Bogle, right? So let's not be hopeful. Let's turn around to everybody at the press conference and say, yeah, we're bringing in 4 players this week. We'll probably bring in about 2 to 4 players. I expect bodies this week. I expect 4 or 5. Not hopeful, or there's no guarantee. I expect 4 or 5 this week. And then I think the mindset's a little bit different. We're all thinking, right, okay, we've got irons in the fire. And I'm not saying they don't have irons in the fire. You have to cover yourself with these comments a lot. I'm not saying they don't have irons in the fire, but this hopeful thing and this there's no guarantee thing, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. It's really not. So we need to start genuinely seeing some guarantees and some solid links and all this sort of stuff. That's what we need. And solid, like almost guarantees. You'd hear Wilder. He was saying when Raksaki and Cooper were nearly close, he was saying 4 days beforehand, the board have backed me massively. And we will be, he said there's a big likelihood we're going to be bringing in 2 boys in the next 72 hours. That's what we need. That's what we need right now. And there's a real sort of dour nature when it comes to the fan base at the minute. And I understand that. I understand that. As I told everyone, we will only get top 2. Dale says, Connor, do you actually go to any games or just commenting from your sofa? This isn't a sofa. If this is your sofa, that's a slight worry. But yeah, went to a few last season, mate. Went to a few last season. How many games do you go to? That's just this sort of a boring conversation about who goes to what game. One player isn't good enough. Burn looked fantastic. Wednesday's a big test. Sheffield, Wild Good looked shaky in the second. That's our competition. Gav, who's in charge of the merch. Everybody, if you want your merch, link in the description below. Us and back for it together all the time. Both can work. Or oil tanker turning circle. Morning, Connor. Hope you're all good, mate. All good, man. So yeah, we can get out of this. We can get out of this. But as I've mentioned on here, everybody, I think the manager's got to get. I think the manager's got to get better. I do. I think there's got to be development at certain points, and I would task him with trying to get the best out of Joel Piroe, and he's got to figure out how to do that. He's got to figure out how to do that. Because that is a man who needs an upside at some point, whether or not it comes to sell on or whether or not it comes to just working at Leeds. Because it's not working right now. That should be almost like a primary task right now of Daniel Farke as a coach. Yeah, as a coach. Let the others get on with the signings coming in. But as a coach, you need to start varying your formations. You need to start trying to get the best out of Joel Piroe because you wanted him in. That's a fact. You wanted him in. So why did you want him in? Where are you going to play him? Where were you thinking about this whole foursome going forward? Where were you thinking? Because right now he's got an opportunity. We have an opportunity right now to get the best out of Joel Piroe. 16 million pound player. Who knows? Could get the best out of him in that number 10, like Russell Martin did at Swansea. Let's try and focus on that. If we're seeing a bit of variation, we could get the best out of Joel Piroe. We're not managers ourselves. Of course we're not. But we all can see that what Martin did at Swansea got the best out of him. What Farke's doing right now at Leeds United isn't getting the best out of him. That needs to change. But yeah, look, let's see. Let's see what happens this week. But yeah, let's always challenge as well, everybody. Let's always challenge. Let's challenge the manager. So, Connie, you are not telling the truth. Fair enough. What do you want me to say? There's no facts right now, mate. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not a pundit. I'm a fan. What truth do you want me to talk, Philip? Graham Smith, hi Connor, keep up the good work, mate. This squad is not good enough to even get top 6. I'll go to more games if I live near Leeds. Went to the Portsmouth game, great atmosphere. Yeah, everybody gets. Well, Dale says every home and half the away. With so much about the cameras that I don't pick up, such as Gruev several times yesterday, motioning to the bench about where he should play. Well, there you go, Dale. So you've got a bit of an insight there, mate. And I guess the question there is, why is Gruev doing that? So yeah, that's a lot of the time you see, Dale, when I don't go to matches, it's to provide people with content immediately. People want instant things, right? So you can go to the games. I've got a membership, bought a membership this year, and I will get to as many games as I can. But providing the content for me is probably more important right now. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. The next fan phone in Harvey, we'll do it soon, mate. Are you the little Irish lad? I can't remember. Oh, you were the little Irish lad. You're probably big now, aren't you? Sorry, Connor, I don't agree. If you have to surround an entire team of pros around your grandmother, she'll be a marksman too. You're making excuses for pros' lack of ability. So lack of ability, mate. Why? So why did he score? What was it? 43 goals, 44 goals in 2 seasons in the Championship? Then why did that happen? Why did he get the grand total of about 10, 15 assists in 2 seasons? Why at Swansea was he so much more lethal and potent? Why did every top team that came down from the Premier League want Joel Piroe, including Russell Martin, who we pinched Joel Piroe from at Southampton? Why is he such a bad player if that's the case? Why is he such a bad player if that's the case? No, and you can criticize me, mate. Always criticize me, no problem with that. I always just say, like on there, when it's abuse and when it's lies, I guess that's when I get a little bit more frustrated. But yeah, everyone, I'll tell you what, we'll leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is it being controversial? I don't think so. I think there's been, when we talked about the 3 things here, I think, I get what Farke was doing in terms of going for the, if he was summarizing here, going for a draw. I think that lacks a little bit of ambition, and I get it. Look, start of last season, Shackleton, Gelhardt, Drame, Bamford, etc. You're starting 11. I get it. Shut up shop against West Bromwich Albion. I completely get it. But when you've still got Joseph, Nonso, Piroe, Bogle, players like that in your side, I think you can go to West Bromwich Albion and win. How highly we're rating West Bromwich Albion here? We rate the coach highly, but the players on the pitch, I think, are beatable yesterday. I think we had more quality in our starting 11. So I'd have liked to have seen a little bit more. Joel Piroe is a problem right now, and I think it is up to the manager to get the best out of said individual, which I think previous manager would have done in terms of Marcelo Bielsa, who'd have really worked hard with him, you feel. And is Farke right with the 4 players that he wants added to this squad? Do we need more? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.